Today's guest just won his first Emmy for his stellar work on Fargo. But anyone who's paid attention since his beloved run on New Girl knows that his critical success was just a matter of time. From Woke to Game Night to the SNL-inspired comedy Saturday Night, which is in theaters now, this guest is always showing us a different side of his talent, and we can't wait to see more. Please welcome to Keep It, Lamorne Morris.
Hey, how y'all doing?
And I just want to be clear that he just wheeled his Emmy in our face, which has not been done since Tim Gunn was on this show. So you are in good company. Yeah.
It's sitting right here next to me. It's everywhere I go. So you mentioned it, and I figure, I cannot address my girlfriend in the room.
Okay, now, I have to say, people pretend like awards are, secondary to the whole thrill and it being in the profession of acting. Having an Emmy, how endorphin boosting is it for you just on a daily basis? Do you love having it?
Oh my God, I do. I love it. I mean, it's just it's one of those things where it's a reminder that you worked your ass off and somebody thought the thing that you did was good. So just continue down that path and you'll hopefully get a chance to continue to do dope shit. So, I just, every once in a while I'll walk past the office, I'll see it and I'll just go, yeah. I'm better than you, Jake Johnson. Yeah.
And there has to be a sort of, a fun pleasure or, even sort of maybe a weirdness of getting it for Fargo, a sort of project that you've done years after being on New Girl for so long, something that you would have expected I'd get one for this.
Yeah, I made a joke. Once the nomination came out, I made a joke that I said thank you to the Academy for recognizing all of my hard work on New Girl. We worked really hard on that show, and we didn't get a lot of Emmy love at all. I don't think our show was ever nominated, but. The cool thing is that the fans, they stick with you, and a lot of those fans are Emmy voters, and they remember those moments. So, looking at my character in Fargo, it's a complete departure from anything folks who know me had ever seen me do. So I guess, in a way, it was just jarring for people to see that character, which helped with the voting, I'm assuming.
Now, obviously, you're in the new movie Saturday Night about the first episode of Saturday Night Live where you play Garrett Morris, one of the original 7 cast members, probably best known for playing Chico Escuela, but he has a number of very famous sketches. He was also on Two Broke Girls years and years later. But
Yep.
I was blown away to realize you auditioned for SNL and did not get it.
Yeah, did not get it. I sent in, and probably rightfully so. That was, had I had an in-person audition, I probably would have. I came up doing sketch comedy and improv, but, I was asked to submit a tape of characters. And that was the first time I'd ever been asked to do something like that. So I just kind of messed around with characters at home and sent it in. They liked it and said, hey, can you send in some political characters as well? And like I said earlier, I'm not the most political individual, so I didn't have the best Barack Obama impression. And long story short, I did not get the job. However, I did book New Girl soon after, so it kind of worked out.
They were like, could you just go ahead and be Barack Obama? We need one of those.
Yes.
So
I'm like, God damn it, call Jay Farrow, which is what they did.
Playing Garrett Morris in Saturday Night must have been so fantastic. Obviously, you said that he was, one of your biggest inspirations, just going into comedy. How did you, I guess, prepare to play someone who you love so much?
There was a lot of fear going into it, fear that I'd disappoint or, I guess, let Garrett down. His family that spends time with him and they've known him forever, and fans that know his early work, that know him from SNL, that know him from Martin, Jamie Foxx Show, Two Broke Girls, all these things, all his movies. The fear was, man, people know this guy, people know this iconic figure. I don't want to fuck it up. And so the fear all went away when I got a chance to speak to Garrett. And, he just said, I'm not worried. He's like, I know you're a good performer. He's like, I've seen your work, man. I'm a fan. All I care about is that you let the fans know that I never gave up. And when I spoke to Jason Reitman, our director, his note was, before we started filming, was, don't worry so much about a direct impersonation of this person. We're not doing a character of this person. We are trying to capture the moment of 90 minutes before showtime. What is everyone going through? What's going on in their minds and their hearts? There's this fear that these actors have. They're about to go and showcase something that folks have never seen before on primetime television. Let's see how intense that is. It's particular to your character's journey, and let's not worry about all the impressions. So once I combined that with what Garrett told me, the fear went away, and then I just kind of used my own actor's instincts and played the beats, and gave a little extra and added some sauce here, some flair there, and people seem to like it. Garrett liked it, so that made me happy.
He has an intriguing arc in this movie where I didn't realize he felt basically kind of alienated on the set of this show, and he's basically asking other people why he is there. Like he doesn't relate to the Chevy Chases or Dan Aykroyds or Gilda Radners or whoever else is around. And I assume that is true to life because he had this very interesting background. He was like an opera singer, etc.
Yeah.
So I assume that's true to this man too. Yeah. Did you talk about like the alienation he felt prior to being on the show?
Yeah, absolutely. That was part of the connective tissue between Garrett and I, more than just our last names being the same. But he was going through a bit of a imposter syndrome, situation. What's a man who went to Juilliard, who is a published playwright, who helped desegregate the unions, who was a civil rights activist, who performs La Traviata in Italian? What's this man doing with all these young white 20-year-olds telling dick and fart jokes? What is he doing here? And he just thought, I'm a total fish out of water. This isn't my thing. I'm not a 30-second joke writer, and he struggled a little bit. I had a similar feeling when I first started in this business with New Girl. The character wasn't necessarily being written for, but it wasn't malicious. It was just timing of when the show got greenlit and when my character came on board. So I felt out of place on a lot of episodes where I'm looking at my co-stars getting, A, storylines and funny jokes and all these things, and me, it's kind of left up to me, figure it out. And so I spoke to Garrett about that, and he totally understood. So, I just went into it connecting the dots from our personal lives and used my own struggles, even though they were nowhere near as the stakes were nowhere near as high as they were for Garrett. They were still high stakes for me. So I just used that in this movie.
When would you say, that's so interesting to hear, when would you say that you felt the most comfortable then or at ease with your role on New Girl, that you felt that you were being heard and that your character was sort of being written to you?
I'd probably say season 3. Season 3 is when the writers really got a chance to, they knew me for 2 seasons now. They knew all the little bits that I would just have the courage to throw in there, here and there, whether they made the cut or not. Then they started writing directly towards the weird, which is how I like to perform. You know what I mean? Very left of center at times, and they realized that, and they, it was unlike a lot of, the stereotypical black characters that we would see sometimes. I'm not saying they were trying to write towards stereotypical black, but because they weren't, it was just that a lot of times the energy felt like, oh man, maybe I should perform it like what they're used to seeing. Maybe then I'll blend in and get more written for me. But then I just kind of said, you know what? Season 3, we all came together as a cast and started doing more bits. We started becoming more playful. I want to say that's around the same time Damon Wayans Jr. came back. He might have come back around season 3, and he is such a unfiltered, dynamic performer that I'm looking at him. I'm looking at, what my other castmates are doing, and I'm going, man, they're not going to fire me. Let me just perform. Let me just do what it is that I want to do and see how they respond. And they responded beautifully. Like this goes back to writers, you know what I mean? The writers on this show were so funny and so like in tune with who you are off camera that they start to write the weirdest shit for you, sometimes as an inside joke to you, but sometimes as just like a gift to the show, because it was a character that wasn't represented on the show. A silly, weird, lovable. You rarely see that character. You rarely saw it prior to New Girl, and so I think they created a pretty cool tone of weird. You know what I mean? Not too much, not too little, but right in the pocket of stupidity.
Season 3 of that show, now, if I recall, is the season that Prince was on the show, which has to be better than an Emmy anyway. But did you get to have any significant interactions with Prince?
I did. I'll tell you, he walked in and he had maybe 30, 40 people with him, all dressed in like shiny shit and zippers and tassels, and he had lights in his shoes and in his cane. And when I tell you, everybody got silent. Now, we had over 200 people on set that day, 200 extras, I want to say. Our most expensive episode, I believe. And this man walked in, and everybody got quiet. Everybody just looked at him. And I just remember him going, "As you were." I didn't get him back to work.
God, he is so funny. He is so funny.
And then there was this one moment where he's like telling us one of his background dancers or part of his entourage ended up having a moment in the episode, and he calls me to the side and he goes, "Lamorne, can you teach her how to act surprised?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, she has to come out and she has to notice me and she has to look surprised. So, and she's never acted before. So is there any way you could teach her how to act surprised?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely." And I'm thinking I'll pull her to the side in like a corner somewhere and work with her. And he goes, No, do it right here." And then he sits down in a chair and had me and her perform for him, in which he gleefully clapped and cheered on and was just like he was so excited to see it. And, you got to imagine, and I felt good about doing it, because you got to imagine somebody who's been entertaining folks for however many decades, and he's been at the top of that list of performers. Like, how often does he get a moment to sit down and just go watch a movie, or sit down and go to a comedy show, or sit down and so in a small way, I saw the look in his eye, and he was so excited to have two people just performing a scene for him. And, part of me was like, man, this is ridiculous. But the other part was, well, it's Prince. It's not Soulja Boy, If Soulja Boy said, "Lamorne, come dance in front of me," I'd be like, shut your ass up. Also, I love your music, Soulja Boy, but no, I'm not dancing for you. Prince, yes.
I read in an interview you gave recently that you were actually desperate to be a guest on late night comedy shows, which is interesting to me because I write for Jimmy Kimmel, and you guest hosted over the summer. You've guest hosted before, which was you're fabulous, extremely well suited to this. But what is it about being a guest on a talk show that you really craved doing?
I mean, when you grow up in the comedy business, you even though I didn't grow up on Carson, I remember Carson. I remember the stand-ups coming out and getting a chance to sit on the couch if they get the wave over to sit, and I knew it was a career extender. You know what I mean? It opens you up to a whole different audience when you're on these, because you're sitting down talking to someone who's mastered the art form, someone who is a master comic, someone who is a master storyteller, a master interviewer, and you get a chance to sit down and just have a conversation about whatever it is you want to talk about. And to me, that's part of making it in the business. when you get a chance to come sit next to a Jimmy Kimmel or Conan O'Brien or, a Fallon or something like that. When you get that opportunity, it's pretty damn cool. So I was desperate for it. You know what I mean? For the longest time, I couldn't. I just thought, oh, I'm on a TV show. They're gonna call me, and then it was like, no. You got to do more than that. And so finally, I think my first one was Craig Ferguson, I want to say, and he's so funny, and I had such a good time on there. He improvises everything, no stories, none of that, and it was just so freeing. And then having a chance to do Conan and then Kimmel, I mean, to me, that's what makes me feel like, oh, I made it. Like I'm comfortable now in this business. Like I should be here. These folks over here wanted me to come talk to them. So and it's almost, honestly, I'll tell you, winning an Emmy is to me is a great honor. Being asked to be on a late night talk show, especially when you grow up as a kid watching those things. I used to sit out with my grandma and my mom watching, late night talk shows. Like this is up there with that. The Emmy and talk shows, like late night talk shows, they're kind of neck and neck for me because they both are just reminders that you're doing the right thing and you should continue to push in this direction because, the fans out there like it.
There is something just in general about being invited to be on a late night talk show where it's, we think you're so talented, we just want to hang out with you. So it's almost like this relish in the fame moment you get to have.
Yeah.
Whereas an Emmy, it's like, yeah, you worked hard and we're rewarding you, but now it's like, we like you so much, you're our friend.
Yes.
So anyway, it's actually creepy and parasocial.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it, too, is I'll see Jimmy at these events and things, and it's like we're old buddies. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, man? Big hug. And, that to me is like when you meet people and you get a chance to have a rapport with folks, even that right there kind of sums up your career in a little bit, in a little way, because again, you grow up watching these folks. I remember the first time I did a movie called Barbershop, and I mean the icons that are in this movie, and I just remember, Anthony Anderson just texting me randomly, and Cedric the Entertainer texting me, hey man, let's go smoke a cigar or something like that. I'd be over at this person's house do it, and I'm like, man, I met them on a movie set and we're still friends. They haven't given up on me just yet. Okay, I feel good. Okay, I'm in a good space here.
I mean, you talk about watching late night shows and obviously, aspiring to be on a couch, etc. But what other things did you consume when you were younger that you sort of aspired to? Were there any other sort of comedy heroes of yours? Were there any other shows that you loved, or you were like, you're still waiting to get to do something like that in this industry?
I mean, besides pornography, no, are you saying one more time, are you saying, what other aspects of, the industry or things that I consumed that I wanted to be a part of?
No, I mean sort of maybe what other shows, some show that you really loved or some other actor whose career you really enjoyed.
Well, besides, I mean, I gotta stop saying Eddie Murphy. I think Eddie Murphy is in a class all by himself, and I think that's unachievable. For that to happen, you know what I mean? Eddie is and he's still doing it, which is, to me, he's so iconic. So he is definitely someone that I looked up to and aspired to be like. But I gotta say, Martin and Chappelle Show were two. So I'll go Martin, Chappelle Show, 30 Rock, right? For all different reasons. Martin was playing all these characters in a television show, and whenever you turned on Martin, it looked like it felt like you were in their living room and you were just having fun with them. They were so silly. The topics were so stupid. But when I say funny, I mean, they'd be breaking laughing. And for me, that's what I want. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to have fun with my friends at that level. Chappelle's show was because he broke a lot of rules. He was very irreverent, almost like going back to the old school SNL days when you can sing a song called "Get Me a Shotgun and Kill All the Whiteys I See," and everybody knows it's comedy, so they laugh at it. Chappelle was doing that type of stuff, and in a way where, he's got songs about like R. Kelly peeing and shitting on people. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, he does that kind of stuff. And in 30 Rock, 30 Rock, I love 30 Rock because it's like an amalgam of every comedic type of character. Every comedic archetype you could find, they're on that show. And they all combine forces to make one of the funniest things you will ever see. And, so 30 Rock definitely is something that inspired me. And it's kind of like inside baseball a little bit with 30 Rock. The improv scene, the sketch scene, what goes on behind the cameras, the writing process. So that's definitely a show that inspired me to be where I am right now.
30 Rock, I want to say additionally, not only are the main cast members great, but even like the second and third, like the recurring characters, like the people who would just be in the writer's room, they were also so fleshed out and real too. It's like they really paid attention to making everybody very real. Yes.
Oh my God, absolutely. In comedy, everything's fair game. It's like if you're in an improv show and there's like 10 people, if you're on stage, you're on stage, so the lights are on. I feel like 30 Rock, there's no big or small characters. You know what I mean? You're dynamic. You get a laugh, then you're part of you're.
Totally. No, everybody was essential in that show. And then they kept delivering new amazing characters,
Yeah.
Like years later, you'd finally get whatever. Elaine Stritch went away and then, somebody else amazing would come in. Kristen Shaw, whomever,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to lastly ask, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm so excited that you're going to be in Spider-Man Noir. You had a fantastic story in Vanity Fair where you talked about how you thought you were going to be meeting Nicolas Cage, but it turned out that your team had just set up a dinner for you to surprise you for your Emmy nomination, and they were all wearing Nicolas Cage masks, which is hilarious. But you talked about prepping to meet Nicolas Cage, and we're calling one of your best friends who's like a Nicolas Cage, like aficionado, and sort of like prepping to meet with him. So I want to know about the prep. Like, did you watch a specific Nicolas Cage movie, or like what were you prepared to talk to Nicolas Cage about? What were you going to zero in on?
A lot of it was fashion. A lot of it was me trying to figure out what to wear because, my buddy would post every Tuesday. He would post Nick Cage Fit Tuesdays, and then he would have like old photos of him from red carpets or paparazzi photos of him like leopard pants with a buttoned up, unbuttoned shirt. You know what I mean? With like a fedora, different things like that. So I'm looking in my closet, trying to figure out exactly what do I have that's not too loud, but not too subtle. How can I impress Nick Cage? And especially because the first time I met him, he was wearing a multicolored velour tracksuit and the fattest gold Rolex I'd ever seen. And I was like, yeah, that man's cool. Okay, that man's flashy. Yeah, he's got some style. I got to figure my shit out. So a lot of it was spent looking at the photos of Nick and going, I wonder what I can get away with. And then just like my buddy just sitting me down and giving me like a crash course on some of the, he's asking me what my favorite Nick Cage movies are. And, I'm just running through the list of them. Con Air, you know what I mean? I'm going through the Face Off. And he's like, okay, good, that's good. He's like, he's probably not gonna grill you about, film trivia, even though he's a cinephile. Like, don't worry about that. Just, as long as we can make references towards his movies, you know what I mean, then you're good to go. And it never happened. So I wasted a lot of my time, and I wasted an evening in my finest black and gold button-up. So I never got a chance to have dinner with him. But I filmed with him, which is even better.
Oh my God, I kind of want to be put through my paces in that same way someday. Like when I finally get to meet whoever, I don't know, Madonna or something. Just we'll see what I have in my closet for this. Yeah.
Yes. I know. I almost wanted to call a stylist Almost.
He always turns up on GQ's like list of 90s airport like fit looks. Celebrities in the 90s, their airport looks are always fantastic. It's always like a leather jacket, like people dressed up and they looked fly going to the airport in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Lamorne, thank you so much for being here with us.
Man, thank you. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. This was fun, you know.
Also, you have the one Emmy nomination or one Emmy win now. I have the feeling it's going to be like a 4, 5, or 6 wins thing. Like you do drama and stuff too. Like too versatile. It's going to be coming at you from all directions soon. Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate that. Let's fingers crossed. You know, let's make it happen.
Yeah, the Emmys are a little different from like the Oscars. The once you get into the Emmys, it's kind of like the floodgates. I feel like Emmy voters are like, we like you. We just want to keep giving you more.
And I like them, and I'll gladly accept these gifts.